To divide two complex numbers, we must multiply the conjugate of the denominator and then write the result in standard form. For example, let's divide these two imaginary numbers. Keep in mind our result needs to be in standard form. To do this, we will multiply by the conjugate of the denominator, and we're going to do that in the numerator and in the denominator. Notice that that number in red is really representing 1, so we're not changing the value of the initial number. Multiplying by 1 doesn't change the value, but we will change what it looks like. Our goal is hopefully to remove I out of the denominator. In the numerator, notice we have an imaginary number times an imaginary number. Here we'll just distribute. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times I is 2i. 3i times 1 is 3i. And then 3i times I is 3i squared. We'll do the same thing in the denominator. We're simply multiplying these two imaginary numbers. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times I is I. Negative I times 1 is negative I. And then negative I times I is negative I squared. Next, let's go back to the numerator and simplify. We have 2 plus 5i. And remember that I squared is negative 1. So we have 3 times negative 1, which is negative 3. In the denominator, we have 1. I minus I adds 0. Those go away. And again, I squared is negative 1. So we have negative 1, which is positive 1. Simplifying the numerator again, we get negative 1 plus 5i. And in the denominator, we get 2. Now we're almost done. The only thing we have to do now is break apart that fraction. Negative 1/2 plus 5/2 I. And now we have our answer in standard form. In this example, again, we are dividing the two imaginary numbers. Let's multiply by the conjugate of the denominator. And we're going to do that in the top and the bottom. So in the numerator, we multiply. 13 times 5 is 65. And then 13 times 12 is 156. I divided by, down in the denominator, we need to distribute. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 12, I is 60i. Then we get negative 60i. And negative 12i times 12i is negative 144i squared. The top, we can just write, copy that over. Nothing to simplify in the numerator. In the denominator, we have 25. 60i minus 60i adds to 0. Those go away. And remember, I squared is negative 1. Negative 144 times negative 1 is positive 144. Continuing to simplify, we have 65 plus 156i divided by 169. At this point, we want to break apart those fractions. And let's see if this reduces. If you're ever unsure on whether or not a fraction reduces, you can check in the calculator. 65 divided by 169. If you hit enter, it's going to give you a decimal, but we can hit math, enter, enter, and if it will reduce, we can get the simplified fraction, which in this case is 5/13. And we'll do the same thing with the other fraction. 156 divided by 169. Enter will give you a decimal. Math, enter, enter. looks like this one does reduce. We get 12/13. So we have plus 12/13 I.